Okay, I want to do this video. It's about different things some people seem to not know, which I was shocked. I mean, like, I don't know, like that we all learned this in school. If you didn't learn it in school, somewhere, but I guess some people didn't. And plus, maybe I was mistaken by what I was hearing and reading, and maybe I was mistaken, honestly. But for anyone out there watching this video, basically, I'm doing this video basically on LGBT people, LGBTQ people, and I understand people include LGBTQIA. Excuse me, sorry. To me personally, I do not include or consider the A or the I to be LGBTQ exactly, because like for the A, it's like a lot of people can be hetero-romantic. If you are hetero-romantic and asexual, you will live and basically be of the same community as the heterosexual community. So to me, I consider a an asexual person basically the same if they are hetero-romantic. If they're homo-romantic or bi-romantic, I kind of feel like that's more of what their sexuality is, even though I understand they don't really have those kind of sexual desires, you know? And so in that sense, I mean, like, asexuality, I guess, is an alternative sexuality to heterosexuality, but it can also occur within the heterosexuality umbrella. So that's why I don't really consider it LGBTQ exactly, but there are many asexual homosexuals and bisexuals. So that's how I kind of see it with asexuality. Then I kind of feel like with the I stands for intersex. And I mean, I do see also that going back to asexuality, that plenty of people who are asexual and heteroromantic can identify as LGBTQ. That's all their business. I mean, that's personal. I know a lot of heterosexual people who identify as allies of the LGBTQ community and therefore see themselves a part of the LGBTQ community as well. I personally did see myself as LGBTQ identified in the sense that I did feel like I was an ally when I was younger, but as time has gone on, I constantly do realize, and have realized probably since then, that I'm more neutral, kind of like Switzerland. I'm not against a gay marriage. I've always been for gay marriage, but at the same time, I'm not the type who is like very, um, like, shove it down other people's throats, basically. Like, people have a right to accept what they want to accept and not accept what they don't want to accept. And that's their personal choice with like their own personal space, their personal businesses, their personal housing, what they say, what they believe, what they do in respect to themselves has to do with their personal beliefs, and no one should um take that away from them. I mean, at best, your job is to change their minds, but I doubt you will be able to. I mean, most people have their opinions on that and they don't change their minds. So it is what it is. And you just have to accept them for who they are. Anyway, so I see it that way for them, and I see it the other way with, LGBT people. I think that they should be able to marry and stuff, and I mean, like, live their lives the way they need to live their lives. They should have equal rights to everybody else, and as a black person, honestly, I constantly feel the same way. I would prefer to have refused service to me for being black rather than eating someone's spittle because they couldn't refuse me service and they didn't want me eating in their restaurant. And so, in result, because I was black, I was eating someone's spittle. I mean, obviously, I don't want to be patronizing, well, being a patron of a place that is racist against me and doesn't want me in their business. So that's kind of like my opinion. on that whole issue. Added to that, I mean, on a secondary issue, um, I am trying to address the whole situation with um with the I part of it. So to me, I do not consider intersex to be a part of the LGBTQ community, but like I said, everyone has a right to identify as however they want to identify. I just don't see it because to me, intersex people, well, yes, they're more likely to transition because it's more of a sometimes people gender assign people wrongfully because they don't actually know what gender they will end up identifying with because they are both genders. And that's the thing, that's what I wanted to address in this video because a lot of people seem to not really know what intersex was. They thought it was the same as transgender or something similar. Transgender and intersex people are very opposite. In fact, if you are intersex, you can't be diagnosed with gender identity dysphoria. I mean disorder. Sorry, gender identity disorder. Because that is actually one of the qualifications, disqualifications. If you have an intersex condition or it is found out, you cannot be technically transgender, at least by definition. Um, so to me, I mean, one is very different. One, transgender people are very sensationalized, they're very out and open, and the public and people recognize them, and they've been recognizing them since the 30s. And I understand the first individual to transition was actually intersex. Like I said, many intersex people do transition because of this. Einer, Lily Elb, um, was intersex, as far as I remember reading. And she transitioned to live as a woman, and she was the first person to transition to live as a woman from being born as a man. But she was actually never actually born as a man only, at least. She was actually born male and female. So that's where intersex comes in. Intersex is basically someone who is born with ambiguous genitalia or a combination of male and female characteristics. So, like, for example, someone who has androgen insensitivity syndrome will have genetics, basically, genotype male, XY, and internal genitals are male. They have gonads. Their gonads are male testes, but they're undescended testes, so they don't actually, their outward genitals are female. They have like a vagina, all that comes with a vagina at birth. They don't have a penis, they don't have anything like that. They go through puberty like females do because their gonads are insensitive to androgen. Um, so that's that's one case of it being intersex. There's many, many more. You can have chimerism and end up never knowing you're intersex because it's only a small percentage of your genome that is XY or a small percentage of your genome that is XX. So there's so many different conditions out there that could make you intersex, and you have no clue of it, and it probably doesn't even pertain to your gender identity or life in general. You might be able to procreate just like a female or a male. It it might have no impact, basically. And sometimes it does have an impact. Like I said, it can have an impact to the point where somebody assigned you the wrong gender because at birth you had male and female genitals. In those cases, I mean, it's not the same as being transgender because transgender, they're born as one gender. The other one is just basically a condition. Some conditions are actually life-threatening, like congenital adrenal hyperplasia. That is a condition that actually needs to be regulated because they're salt wasting in their infancy. So yeah, there's some concerns there. So there's generally, as far as like intersex and transgender being at all similar, I don't really see a similarity. I do understand, yes, there are some um, challenges that some people face when they're transgender, and some challenges people who are intersex face, you know. Like the bathroom bill, for example, I think was a concern for them. But honestly, I don't think if it wasn't for transgender people, there would be any concern over it, because it would be like, well, I don't think anyone would really be concerned about them doing that, because they're female too and they're male too, so they kind of have a right to, do whatever they do, and I don't think anyone would really care in those cases. So that's what I mean. Like intersex people, like as far as like the religious, like conservatives say, generally they don't have any connotation against them because they're just born that way. Like literally, they have a medical condition. Transgender people aren't really born that way. They just have a different brain sex, basically, and a different physical sex. That's what they claim. So, from an outward person on the outside looking in, it's kind of like, they just see someone of one gender changing to the next. It's not like other people where they're actually just, born with both genders, and then maybe the doctors do something wrong and they make a decision, they do surgeries on them. Usually, see, that's another thing about intersex people. They have issues that transgender people really, really don't. The only issue that transgender people ever have is when they have regret and they do it when they're kids. But I mean, this has all to do with what they said, they claimed they were, and all that. Intersex people, on the other hand, many of the time are kind of like forced into this kind of situation where, like, they'll be born and then doctors will make a decision and start committing surgeries against them and making them into a woman or making them into a man, and then they might feel like a woman, but they make them into a man, and now there's a whole problem, or the other way around. So that's mainly, I think, how it can kind of cross and seem similar, but that's more a matter of the fact of doctors, I think, getting into places where they shouldn't get into, assuming someone's going to identify as this way or that way, when they're really literally both genders. I mean, they're both sexes. So, I mean, like, let them make a decision. And I think I mean, in that sense, you could say there's a commonality because transgender people kind of, they say that they challenge the binary of male and female. Honestly, I don't believe so. The reason why I don't believe they do is because they say this is what being a woman is, this is why they feel like they're a woman, or they feel like they're a man. Okay, so you think that a woman feels like this, she acts like this, she has this personality, she does this, she wears this type of clothing, etc., etc., etc. That is actually confirming and, and trying to emphasize the binary. So it's not really trying to challenge it. I mean, to me, I would say the intersex people, maybe they are kind of like um, trying to, but they're not really trying to. Their existence, I guess you could say, challenges the binary of male and female because they're born male and female, so they can't really pick a side sometimes because they literally are physically male and female. So I mean, like, to me, people saying that they're the same are so ignorant because they didn't. I don't know, like you've never heard of the term intersex. Is there something like I don't understand who doesn't know what intersex is? It's confusing to me and shocking. I thought people usually come across the difference between intersex and transgender. They know what the term is. So yeah, that's just my opinion on that. I don't know. I just wish people would kind of educate themselves on the issue so then they could know that, there's a difference. Intersex people are technically female. Even whether they want to identify it or not, they're biologically females. And some people were saying intersex people weren't real females. They are real females. They're just, you know, also male. And I think that maybe have confused them or made them uncomfortable. I mean, someone's sex is making you uncomfortable. That's something that was given to them by God. This is something that they were born with. You can't really be uncomfortable with it. It's like a man being uncomfortable with you because you're a female. Like, you get what I mean? People have different things that they're born with. You kind of just have to let it be. Um, I kind of feel like with the binary, I don't even agree with the binary that there's male and female, and males act a certain way and females act a certain way, and we have roles. I think because I was raised by my mother, generally. So for me, I mean, like, I don't see it that way. I see it like people are people, and there's male people and there's female people. And female people can get pregnant, and they have periods, and they have breasts. In some cases they don't. You can be infertile, etc. If you're intersex, you might just have a vagina, but you might not have a period, etc. I'm not going to list all the possibilities of being born female include. You get it. Um, but I mean, to me, that's how I see it. It's like basically, I don't believe in a binary as far as like gender identity. I don't believe in gender. And I think that's because for me personally, like I don't really I'm not a very feminine girl, honestly. To be very real. As far as like the difference like binary, feminine and masculine, I am definitely masculine. But that does not mean that just because I'm masculine, that means I'm now a man or I gotta transition to living as one. Even though, honestly, to me, I mean, like, if I lived as a man, I would be fine. I would. I would. The thing is, there's so many layers to it. Like, society expects you to be this way and this way. And that's why I feel like it's not really like a binary really exists. Because if it really did exist, then it wouldn't be just based off society. It would actually be something internal that would tell you, oh, you must do this, this, this. And internal, it would tell you to be a masculine person. You must be this, this, this. I don't feel that. I feel that society says that you must be this, 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 and people have personalities and identities that are more masculine, but they might have a female body, or in reverse. That's how I feel. And that's why, to me, I mean, I just don't believe in a binary, really. Like, I think it's full of crap. And that's why I kind of feel like transgender people are kind of like a product of not being able to fit in, really, in our binary system. And I know, like, people say, like, there's the whole issue of dysphoria, but with dysphoria, the thing is, I've talked to many transgender people, and it's like, many of them say that they deal with situations where they have less or they have no dysphoria now that they're on testosterone. But they still have triple D boobs, and they still have a vagina, a gaping hole in there. It's like a wound. And no penis whatsoever. So, I mean, you feel dysphoria, but is it dysphoria because of how people see you, or is it dysphoria about when you go in the shower and what you see? You know, if you're fine going in that shower and then you put on your binder and your male clothing, and, your heavy voice and your facial hair makes people think you're a man, is that really dysphoria, or is it just a matter of comfort that people now accept you as what they think that you should be, rather than what you really are, you know? Because, I mean, like, what you really are is someone who is physically female, but you are masculine identifying. You are masculine. That's how I feel. Like for me, I'm like, I am masculine, and I'm not really like that. And I never understood, like, okay, you're masculine, and you know, if you're a guy, you probably would fit in just fine. But I mean, does it mean we gotta just do all these crazy surgeries and stuff and risk our lives just to get to please somebody who's never even gonna see you nude? Like to me, that's just weird to me. I don't know. That's just from my point of view. But I mean, like as far as like um as far as like people who are like intersex, I don't feel that they are a product of society, obviously, because well, they are in the sense of the child surgeries. Because I mean, like many of the time, the doctors will come in and do surgery on these kids. Sometimes get rid of their penises, get rid of their undescended testicles, and try and make them into a girl when they identify as boys, etc. You know, and I mean, like, obviously, that is society destroying people, bodies and mutilating their bodies and things of that nature. So, I mean, that is a product of our society. But I don't think their actual mere existence has anything to do with a binary or anything like that. I think what the problem is for them is that they don't fit in our binary and we try and make them fit in a binary that doesn't really even exist. We just told ourselves what it is. Because if there was really a binary, then we wouldn't have people, men in the Middle East, not wearing those things. I never understand what it is. From my culture, it looks like a dress. Okay, the kilt looks like a skirt. Okay, in our society, we don't let men aren't allowed to wear skirts. They're not allowed to wear dresses. Okay, so if a man was innately knowing what he's supposed to do, then he would go to another culture. He would be born in another culture, and he'd automatically reject wearing a kilt. He'd automatically reject whatever Middle Eastern men are wearing with their long robes, kind of look like dresses. There's no two sleeves. Just saying. So I mean, like, if if there was such a situation where I mean a binary actually exists innately, then cultures wouldn't change how genders are expressed and what a woman does and what a man does. It's just based off different cultures. So that to me tells me that it's not real. The binaries aren't really true. It's just a matter of some people do this, some people do that, and it's just a matter of their history and the people and things of that nature. The women did this, the men did this. That's how it is. But that doesn't mean that we all do. See what I mean? Grab my. Hold on. Yeah, I know. I'm gonna grab my. I don't know if there's any more water. So that's kind of just ending how I feel about the whole situation as far as LGBT people and intersex people, because I feel like intersex and transgender, some people, I guess they just get stuck on transgender because they're, like I said, a bit outrageous to some conservative people and some of the traditional people. So, I mean, it sticks out. And intersex people kind of like are kind of like in the shadows. So they kind of just get lumped in with them. And I just think a lot of ignorant people need to educate themselves in order to not make this mistake. Because when people make this mistake about intersex being transgender, it just to me makes me think you know nothing about what intersex people really are and what it really means. So, I'm done. Thanks, bye.